Welcome to Moss Marketing Mondays, aka the M3 Podcast. Brought to you by Moss Marketing Group, bringing you everything marketing every Monday. Stay tuned for marketing tips and tricks you can use today. The M3 Podcast, marketing knowledge to help you succeed. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the M3 Podcast. This week, we got Ricky and Dre on from the MMG crew and our guest, Stephen Ross.
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Good. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we have just recently crossed paths. There's a lot of people that we have on that one of us has had a network with them or communication with them for a long period of time. And you're someone that came by the office here recently, and it was instantly, I was like, this guy needs to be on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. I felt the same.
Like, I know
Yeah.
I belong there.
Yeah.
So you own Renovating KC.
Yep.
And before we jump into the business side, everything that's there, I want to start at the beginning because so many people that listen are intrigued with how entrepreneurs come up and where that kind of hits and where they say that's the path they want to take.
Yeah.
So let's start ground zero where life begins.
Yeah, for sure. So born and bred on the Kansas side over in Overland Park, Kansas.
My guy.
My guy. Are you from OP?
No, Clay Center, Kansas.
Okay.
But Kansas.
Kansas is
side.
just, yeah.
Same state.
Same state. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's fine, right? Born and bred in Overland Park. Went to high school, Blue Valley Northwest High School. Grew up, one older brother. My parents, both entrepreneurial spirits, very intelligent people. My mom kind of owned her own business for years, and so we grew up in that ecosystem of my dad was an engineer, very, very intelligent guy, arguably the smartest guy I still have ever met to this day. So we had that background, and then we had my mom, who was the salesman, the marketer. She could talk to anybody, and so we grew up. They never changed jobs from the time I was born until they retired. And so I got to witness this engineer dad and then the polar opposite of the salesman, doesn't know a stranger mom. And so my brother and I grew up in that. We played every sport that was imaginable. We did karate as kids. I don't even know if that's still a thing. But
I think
they told me
everyone
I
has
could be
to
a
do
black
karate.
belt for life.
Yeah.
So still a black belt. But no, we did sports forever. We were always like starting our own businesses, like washing the neighbors' cars when we were like 12 years old and stuff like that, just trying to make a buck. Every time it snowed, we were shoveling driveways, et cetera, kind of thing. So we just kind of grew up in that ecosystem of we can figure out a better way to do this, or we can figure out a way to make money, or there's just I don't want to just rely on somebody else. It was kind of like we always just figured out a way to take care of ourselves. I ended up playing soccer and baseball in high school, but baseball was my primary. So ended up going through college playing baseball. I actually did go to Maple Woods Junior College up north here.
Joined the Missouri side.
Exactly.
For a while.
Came over to the
man.
dark side. But I pulled my wife out of the dark side. So I met her when I was at Maple Woods. So I was there for a couple years. I got hurt my freshman year. Thought I was going to get drafted. Was kind of on everyone's draft board. Filled out paperwork and psych tests and all kinds of stuff for all the teams. And 6 games into the season, blew out my back. I was hitting like 580, like 3 triples. I was just like, I was crushing it, right? I thought that was my goal. I was going to be a professional baseball player. No questions about it.
I mean, you're built to be one. So
Yeah, I tried. You know, I took it very serious. I was very skinny in high school. I was tall, but I was very skinny. My freshman year, I gained like 30, 35 pounds. And like, that was just what I was going to do, was be a professional baseball player. So played baseball, got hurt. Finished my next 2 years, didn't get drafted. Went up and played baseball up in Cape Cod for the summer. Played until the future like number 5 overall pick came and took my spot. You know? I was kind of keeping his seat warm while he was finishing the College World Series. But then I went to Marshall University in West Virginia, played a year out there, got to play against some unbelievable talent. I mean, we played like Anthony Rendon just signed like a $350 million contract a few years ago. Like, we got to play against him. And then finished my career down at Arkansas Fort Smith. So I took the long road, took multiple years, but got school paid for. And the whole time just thought I was going to be a pro baseball player. Once I got to Marshall, I realized that probably wasn't going to happen. So then started taking business classes more seriously. trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So that's kind of like my journey through college. Did everything wrong, did some stuff right, just do things the hard way, and just try to continue to work a little bit smarter, as we got older.
So you evolved through college, and we have this conversation on here a lot about what people learn in college. And I think a lot of times it's just kind of finding yourself and evolving as a person, growing up, maturing.
Definitely.
That I think a lot of times it's not the education you receive from college, but it's that maturity level that comes there. That you start understanding time management, you start understanding how to handle yourself a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And you finish up that journey through college and you end. At that point, I know so many people come to this crossroad that I think up to that point, most people are like, I knew myself, like, college, I never really thought about it too much.
Yeah.
Like, everyone has some other, like, pipe dream. Like, Dalton and I, when we were in school, like, we were training all the time. We lived in the gym. I was like, we're going to go become Navy SEALs.
You're right.
Like, that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're meant to do. And then it's like, all of a sudden, that kind of comes to the end of the road. Then you're like, is that what we're going to do?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And what did that crossroad turn into, like, when you got out of college to say, like, this is what I want to go do now?
Yeah. So my junior year of college, my brother, who's older, he graduated from K-State in 2009. And 2009, just after the housing crisis, just after the recession, they were giving houses away for free. So he bought a house in Manhattan, Kansas for pennies on the dollar, got all kinds of tax credits, rented it out to his buddies who were still in school. And I'm like, dude, this is incredible. You just bought this house for virtually no money. Your buddies are paying for your rent. You got a house to live in. Like, this is the dream. And I was like,
financial wizard.
I was like, let's get more of those. Let's buy more of those. So, like, my dad taught us how to fix them up. We were spending nights, weekends. I would, as soon as I graduated, I would go help do this, and it was it was a disaster. It was a good disaster. It was learning the hard way. But we bought several houses again for pennies on the dollar, and fixed them up, rented them out, managed them ourselves, dealt with the ecosystem of tenants, etc. So what I realized, like, in this blend towards the end of college and then getting out of college, is I transitioned from the game being baseball to the game being business. That's all this is. And it took me a little bit of time to truly figure that out, but business is just this game. And there's different players, there's different teams. It's just this game on how to move pieces around the board and how to figure out what you want to do, how you want to monetize things, who do you want to work with, what vertical do you want to work with or in. And it's just figuring out this game and then playing the game. And most people don't pick that up right out of school. They go get a job, like a corporate job, which I did. It just took me, I wish I would have learned that, like, more quickly.
And I think a lot of times when it comes to, it's funny that you say that, because on so many podcasts I equate everything to life being a game, business being a game.
Yeah.
And I think some people never even understand how to play the game.
For sure.
And they end up, and it's crazy because I work within our walls of trying to educate people on how to play the game internally to become that entrepreneur inside of a business, where it's how do you effectively use your time? How do you leverage things in the space? How do you become more efficient?
Yeah.
How do you leverage tools that someone else isn't leveraging?
Right.
These are all pieces on the board that you have to understand that you can use.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes people are like trying to move their one piece around. I'm like, figure out how to move the whole board.
Yeah. And they need to move together.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what people don't understand.
I think that is something that it's also, you look at athletes, they become obsessed with football, baseball, soccer, whatever game it is that they play.
Yeah.
There's an obsession with it. And that was something that I had an obsession racing motorcycles growing up. That's what I was good at. Mm-hmm. I played football for a while, but there was no, like, it factor to it. Like, it didn't light me up.
Yeah.
And business was like the first thing that I started feeling that again.
Yeah.
That inner, like, passion that it was like, it's go time every single day. And I think that's where that motivation, that drive comes from, that you look at these baseball players that became greats. That I watched the deal on Alex Gordon on the way he trains for 4 hours before a game, and the way that he just put in time differently.
Right.
He understood the game differently.
Yeah.
He understood the big picture of the game.
For sure.
So what was the corporate job that you got into?
So freight quote, selling freight broker. So I thought I had won the jackpot, right? I graduated school. I moved back home from Arkansas, and I'm living at the house with my parents. I'm like, I just got to find a job. My brother and I have sparked the real estate fire in us, so we understand we just need to get a corporate job so we can get bankroll, and then we're just going to buy more houses. So while I was job shopping, I was house shopping at the same time. So I was a freight broker, inside sales. Everybody in business at some point should have to have an inside sales job. If you haven't, you should get one. Just for 6 months or a year. I mean, we were 80 to 120 phone calls a day. Our lead lists were terrible. Half the numbers were just like, we were trying to sell people who were shipping freight. And like, we would get contractors lists. Like, I was calling plumbers. Like, what kind of freight are you moving? And they're like, dude, I'm a plumber. So
like pipe?
Exactly. I'm like, how do you get your toilets? They're like, Home Depot. I'm like, this.
So what if
Do you
we
need
could
to
freight
order a
broker
lot?
that? We could ship it from out of state.
Yeah,
too.
I was like, if Home Depot's far from you, I could ship it to your house. Like, this is stupid. So, Freightquote was a great company. The culture was cool. I learned a lot of things about it's a massive business. Now I think they merged or got bought out by like C.H. Robinson or something like that. But I did that, and then I went over to a company that has changed names, I think 14 or 15 times since, but it was Dex Media at the time, and we sold the phone book ads.
Nice.
This was 2013.
So you at 2013?
Phone book, not like
ads.
magazine.
No, phone books.
So were you selling these was the average age of someone like 65 plus?
Yes. So we had two sides of the business. One was phone books, and one was they thought they had digital figured out, digital marketing. Right? So they sold these templated websites that were total garbage. It was like 5 slides. It was like $400 to get a website or something. But their core business was still the phone book. So I was cold calling in inside sales into like middle of nowhere, South Carolina, where they still use the phone book. And I would call the local barber and I'd be like, hey, you have a half-page ad. Do you want to renew it for the next year? Price is going up 18% or something. Like, I don't know if I can afford it. And I'm having to sell phone book ads.
How much are these ads at the time?
They were way overpriced. I mean, if they were more than $4, they were overpriced. I remember like full pages were like in the thousands of dollars a year.
Wow.
Holy crap.
And this is 10 years ago. This is
Like
like, in the 80s.
If you would have told me to guess like 1,000 jobs that you were doing at that time,
it wouldn't have been that.
I mean, phone book wouldn't have been the top 10,000.
No.
Never would have came up with that.
Miserable.
No.
Just miserable.
So I do think it's something that when you touch on the sales, like, I mean, we've all three at this table on our side have all done auto sales. And I remember when I first got into auto sales at 18, my dad started training me at 16 years old. He's like, you're going to start doing Grant Cardone training.
Mm-hmm.
Like anybody in the auto space knows Joe Verde. Like I was doing Joe Verde training and I'm like watching these videos that Joe Verde made from like 1990. I'm like, whoa, dude, these are way out.
Yeah.
But it was like the principles that it taught.
Yeah.
That 18, I come in looking like a 1990s attorney, like slacks way too big.
Nice.
My shirt and everything. I was like, I thought I was ready to, I was going to sell every
Well,
car.
we also had a movie we had to watch,
Was it Boiler Room?
Boiler Room.
Yeah.
You sit there, you watch that, and then it's like, I'm like, dude, is
Coffees
this
for
car sales?
closers.
Yeah, coffees for closers.
But it was funny where you think you're so ready.
Yeah.
And then when I get there, they give me like 3,000 names, like leads that come dropped in. These are people that haven't been in the dealership in like over 2 years.
Right.
So
Like
I'm sitting
Hot leads.
The
Hot
lead
leads,
has
yeah.
been marked lost. It's like, hey, take the lost one, see if you can get
just call
something.
them
So my dad's deal was like when I started selling cars, he goes, you're not getting any of like the active leads. He goes, you're going to figure out how to sell these leads.
Yeah.
I was like, I know what I'm doing. I'm like, I've been training for this for years.
Yeah.
I'd sell anybody a car.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, literally,
Yeah.
anybody gets in front of me is buying a car.
Yeah.
Literally the first day I sit there, I'm like going home and I'm like sitting at home. I'm like, every person I talked to on the phone told me to fuck off.
Yeah.
I was like,
Never
that
gonna
was
sell anything.
miserable. I'm like, I don't think I want to sell that. And it was just like every bit of wind was taken out of my sail. And the next day I'm sitting there, I'm like, what can I do besides calling?
Yeah.
I was like, because that sucked.
Yeah.
And it was like, I'm trying to clean cars. I'm trying to do everything. My dad's like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, these cars need clean, Dad. Like, all these things need to happen.
I'm trying to help the team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm trying to be a team
What if
player.
I can help the salespeople up front?
Yeah.
How's that sound?
And he's like, you're not solving a big enough problem in this store. He's like, the big problem is selling cars.
Yeah.
He goes, that's why
Get
you
back
get
on
paid
the
when you. He's like, get back on the phone.
Yeah.
And it was quite a while. It was probably like 4 days in until I even got somebody that was like, yeah, I'd be interested. And I was like, dude, I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
They come up and I'm like, Dad, they want to buy. Like, they're ready.
Yeah.
We pull their credit. He's like, they're not buying anything. I was like,
No, they're ready
no,
to.
no, no.
This is
I
a
don't think you
buyer.
understand.
Like,
They said yes.
They said yes, they're ready.
They
He's
initially
like,
right by their payment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, they're going to buy anything that anybody would
They
give
didn't
them.
even
exactly.
balk at it when I hit them.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't even negotiate.
Just understanding that sales side is something that I think
It's
is
huge. Yeah.
it teaches you to take that like self-inventory that I think a lot of people never have done.
Yeah.
That they just take the easiest route on everything. That, quite frankly, if I would have gotten into that and our family wasn't the owner side of it, I would have been out of there.
Yeah.
But it was like I started, I didn't have an option, so I was stuck inside. Like, this is so
Yeah.
bad. But it teaches you just a different skill set and a different, I don't know, winner mentality. That after you overcome that, I mean, now the things that we take on, I'm like, I overcame that. That was
Right.
way worse.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, it puts you at your spot in the food chain really fast.
Really fast,
Where it's
yeah.
like, you go in, you're like, dude, I'm the stuff.
Yeah.
And then you go in, it's like, first payday comes around, salesman that's actually the stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. He's like, how much you make? I'm like, I didn't get a check.
Yeah. You got paid.
I'm like, it's
Yeah.
payday?
Yeah.
But you sit there and it's like, I gotta change something.
Yeah.
And that's when they tell you be creative, and they told us like, you go out and it's like, no car comes through the lot that you don't speak to them.
Yeah.
Say something to them.
Yeah.
And so you go stand there, like, we have insurance. So if that car hits you, we have insurance for that.
Right.
So you go stand in front of a car and they're coming, you're like, they stop, you're like, hey, what can I help you with?
Yeah.
And then they tell you, they're like, don't lead into yes or no answers.
Yeah.
So it teaches you that.
Yeah.
And
There's a lot of good core principles
100%.
of selling. in
There
general.
is. And I mean, I was at least selling vehicles. I wasn't selling phone book ads.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Over the phone.
over the phone too.
that one sounds a little more
Yeah,
challenging.
it was brutal, but it was good. I mean, I look back on just, if you can get through things like that, and if I sold, I mean, I did okay. I wasn't by no means a top performer because my head wasn't in it because I was building a real estate portfolio. Nor did I want to be the top seller of phone book ads, but I did okay.
I mean, that's probably a hell of a resume builder on a LinkedIn profile.
Definitely, yeah. If you put phone book ads in it's a no-brainer.
Like, this dude's an animal.
He sold phone book ads?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Do you want a job on Wall Street?
exactly. Yeah, exactly. But after that was like really where my career took off. So I left that company and I got into doing home inspections. So my passion was real estate. And a good friend of mine had another good friend that owned a home inspection company. And I had never thought we had bought homes before, but we never had inspections done because it was just investment property. So I sat down with this gentleman. His name is Mike Police, owns Metro Property Inspections. And he was like, why do you want to do this? And I was like, I just love houses. This is my passion. This is what I want to understand. This is what I want to do. And he's like, there's no salary. There's no benefits. It's a 1099. And I'm like, cool. Like, sounds great. So I was making okay money. So it was, at the time, a decent sized risk for me to get out of that. Like, I didn't get a paycheck for months because he was just training me. He's like, I'm going to train you. You're not going to go out in the field and do this until you're ready. It's a big liability. I mean, you go screw something up on a home inspection, you're on the hook for thousands and thousands of dollars. So I went months without a paycheck and then finally started doing my own home inspections. I was like, this is it. And I still do home inspections to this day.
So when you got into the home inspection side, what was because were you and your brother both buying the properties
Yeah, we were
together?
buying them together. We started we created our own LLC in 2011. Yeah.
So where were you guys at when you were in the home inspection side?
We were at about, we were probably about 9 or 10 doors, single family, duplex, or triplex, mostly in Manhattan, Kansas, mostly student living. We both lived in Kansas City at this time. He had moved out of Manhattan. We managed them from Kansas City. So we dealt with the tenants, we dealt with the phone calls, the student housing phone calls in the middle of the night that there's noise complaints. We dealt with all that. Yeah. What do you mean? This is brand new information.
Yeah, a bunch of college
Yeah.
kids making noise?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound right.
They paid us on time. I can't help you out.
Yeah, exactly. So we didn't pay ourselves from that business. We still really don't. It's kind of just our long-term, nest egg. But at the time we were only at about, probably 9 or 10 doors. But I realized very quickly in the game, if you can get into the real estate world, in Kansas City, it's not that big. There's a lot of agents, there's a lot of investors, but the core group is not that large. And so I immediately thought, I can get in with these real estate agents. I can understand what I'm looking at when I go shop for a house. I can waive my inspections now because I can just look at it myself quickly. And if I miss something, that's on me, nobody else. So we could go in and get way more lucrative on the buy side and buy houses, skip the inspection period, and then we were winning more bids on a competitive basis. So we did that for a few years, 2015 to 2017. In 2017, I got my real estate license. I was like, I need to just go. This is a natural progression.
Even more lucrative.
Exactly.
I can do all of it.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole
I'll do
ecosystem.
the whole
is
ecosystem. I laugh about it myself, but like the real estate ecosystem, there's only a few key variables in there, and if you can be a couple of them, like there's several investors I know that they launch, their own lending companies or something like that, or their own insurance agent, or et cetera, or whatever. So then we really got into flipping houses. So we're both still working. I'm working full-time home inspections. Ben is still working his full-time job. And then we're buying these houses. For every 2 that we would buy, we would flip it and keep one as a rental. And then we would flip the other one and sell it to pay for the first rental. And we just kind of did this over and over and over. We were just hiring random crews. We were just hiring random guys, just subcontracting it, kind of GCing it ourselves with no license or anything, just kind of figuring it out. If we required like electrical or plumbing or HVAC licenses, we'd go pony up and pay for those guys. But we cut our teeth. We did a lot of stuff again the hard way. We overspent. We would get way in over our heads on our budgets and just lose money in theory, but we would just have to keep it. So that was our strategy. If we were upside down on the numbers wise, it's like, okay, well, we got to put this one in the rental portfolio and eventually it will make money. I wish I would have made more mistakes, because had I bought 100 houses back then, I'd be sitting on the beach somewhere. Because what happened next in the real estate market from 2019 through now, it's just, it's incredible. So we ended up flipping, I think total we flipped about 50 homes in the Johnson County area, Kansas City, Missouri area, and then we kept roughly about half of those total as our portfolio. So our portfolio today is a blend between 25 and 30. So we'll sell some off and then we'll buy some. So it's about 25 to 30 homes at any given time.
So what would you say your biggest learning curve that you had in that scale up was?
Understanding the finance behind it and how to leverage debt, how to get money to work for you that's not your own. We luckily got hooked up with some really fantastic lenders we partnered with them, not just called the bank and got a loan and like, thanks for your money and I'll just send you the mortgage payment. It was like, I would sit down at the table with them and be like, I know nothing. You know everything about this topic. Please teach me what I need to know and tell me what I need to do. And some entrepreneurs, they struggle having that conversation because they know everything. Exactly. They've got it all figured out. It's like, I'm not a CPA. I'm not a banker. I don't know. So I'm not going to pretend to know. Like you are the professional. You own the bank. You tell me what I need to be doing. And so we got into some very creative loan products that allowed us to scale up really quickly for not a lot of cash, which is the only way that we were able to buy so many properties, at once. At any given time, we would have 5 to 7 properties on our balance sheet, just either working on them or getting them into, rental status.
And I think that's where, we've had a lot of people on the podcast, and the difference between this really high level of success in young entrepreneurs is, in today's world, understanding how to leverage debt.
Yeah.
The debt's not always a bad thing, but you have to understand how to leverage it. And there are bad debts out there.
There is, yeah.
That stacking up certain debts that don't make any money back to you can be negative. But there's also ways that if you can leverage money into businesses, into real estate, into different ways, that there is a flip side to it somewhere.
Right.
There's huge opportunities that people don't see.
Right.
And I think it's crazy that, somebody that we just recently had on, people were like, well, they're in a lot of debt. I'm like, it's because they know how to use it.
Right. Right.
And you get into, there's ways to get into big VC money that when you're running on that scale, money operates different. And once again,
it's a game.
You've moved on to a different game board.
Right.
That the game now has changed.
Right.
That I look at it as, I've even sat down with Madison and I tell her I don't even look at money the same anymore.
Yeah.
The money movement has gotten so large that it's really hard to look at money at a personal level. That personal level is like the last thing I think of, because everything I think about all day, every day is the game of business.
Right.
And it's like that money movement level gets so high that it's now just
There's more zeros.
Yeah. You don't see
the mistakes hurt a little bit more.
You don't see cash sitting on a table
Yeah.
when you're getting checks. Like it's literally just checks in and out. It's numbers and
Exactly.
spreadsheets. It's bank account numbers. Like that's what it becomes looking at P&Ls each month.
Right.
Like that's what business turns into. And I think people have this like early in business, this is like false pretext that there's like some spot where it gets easy.
Yeah.
That's like, I'm going to hit this level of money. Then
It's like, dude, you made it right here. It's like, it just gets easier. I'm like, I think the stress it takes to get here, it just seems a little like they just know how to manage it a little bit better.
Right.
So they just don't seem as stressed.
Exactly.
Every point that you move to the next spot is like, you think that this amount of money at this spot would solve your current problems.
Right.
But what you don't realize is to get to that spot, it takes more cost. That now at that spot you think, okay, this amount of money now solves my problems.
Right.
And it's just a never-ending line that you're chasing.
Yeah, for us it was houses. It's like, okay, if we can get to 10 houses, we get to 10, we'll be good.
Yeah. And
then all of a sudden it's like, we're at 10. I don't feel good. Let's go to 15. 15 is the magical answer, right? We'll get to 15. And it's like you just keep scaling up from there. But yeah, so 2020, 2021, obviously COVID hits, inspections went crazy, the real estate market went crazy. We bought a ton of houses in that time, which not everybody, but some realtors were like, Steven, you're overpaying for these houses. We were buying houses that weren't even appraising.
And this is in 2020?
This is in 2020, 2021.
Okay.
We're buying houses. The appraisals are coming in $10,000, $15,000 short. I'm like, I don't care. I have this understanding based off my, at the time, probably 1,500, 2,000 home inspections I had done. All the conversations I'm having with agents, with buyers, I think this is the right move to continue to buy in Johnson County in safe areas. I think we're going to be fine. So I was the guy overpaying at the time. We were Joe homeowners trying to put in an offer against us and like, why is this guy's an idiot? He's overpaying. It doesn't make any sense. It made sense eventually. It just takes time. So those houses now, we've got $100,000, $125,000 equity in some of those homes that I overpaid. I was the dummy. So now I got lucky on some of them. It was a gamble, it was a risk, but that's the game.
The other thing too that what most individuals don't understand is most people that are going in to make an offer on a $250,000, a $350,000, $400,000 house, like they're looking at it as like that's their biggest investment.
Yeah.
What a lot of these people don't see is like I've seen it with individuals that are like, well, that company just pays way over. Yeah. I'm like, the company that's buying 100 houses a week right now. Like they have Wall Street money that they are looking at they're not liquidating that house for 20, 30 years. Right. Like that is going into a portfolio that's not going anywhere. They know in the overall track record of real estate, you know what they're not making more of? Land. Right. So they know in these dominant areas that people are traveling into, like look at overall economic movement. Right. And too many people look at this like little life that they live in, it's like this big, that they get up and they go to work and they come back home and they maybe go to dinner and it's like everything that is in this little bitty circle. Yeah. And it's like when you look at the big circle of life, and it's like when you see outside money come our direction, when you see that the Google facility that's $1 billion was just approved to go into Kansas City, when you see a new airport going to Kansas City that's state of the art, when you see them trying to move the Royals, when you see them doing all these things, when you see Meta coming to Kansas City, that's not by accident. Right. They're looking at cost per living right now is the most affordable in the Midwest out of anywhere in the country. Yep. When you see people from the coast moving inwards because it's more affordable to live, guess what? Supply and demand. A lot of people end up here. Guess what's going to go up? The real estate here is not going to slow down. And it's funny you get these people that are like,
I'm going to wait.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait. It's going to get better. I'm like,
how long have you been waiting?
Yeah. They're on like year 6. Yeah. You're like, how much you paid in rent?
Hey, I will say I was that person. Yeah. And it was, I think, 2020. Yeah. January, February. Our lease is coming to an end, or our rent is coming to an end at our apartment. And my current fiance and I were like, oh, we'll look at a house. And one of our buddies, he's like, yeah, I'm selling a house. And we go look at it Friday. I'm like, I think I'm going to wait. Dane's like, you wait, I'm buying it. You're renting for me.
I literally told him, I go, if you want to wait on it, I go, you like the house? He goes, yeah. Yeah. I go, all right, great, I'll buy it. You can rent from me. He goes, why would I do that? I go, then you buy it.
I'm like, I ain't paying you a dime, dude.
I go, one or two, like, the house was a deal. I go, at Monday, I go, there's an offer going down on that house. It's either me buying it or you buying it.
Right.
One of the two.
So I call in LO Saturday. I signed my first set of papers Sunday. And I think it was Monday. I was sitting there with my fiance. I'm like, we're buying a house.
Yeah.
And my dad's like, oh, I'll help you out. Yeah, I got you. Goes like, heads up too. He's like, oh, you got it. I'm like, what? He's like, you're good. I move in. I had $78.
Nice.
Like I liquidated everything. I'm like,
yeah.
I have a house.
Yeah.
But that house too that he bought there, he's getting $100,000 of equity like that.
Oh, 100%. But it was that same thing where I was like, gonna wait. I did jump right in.
You still got in and had a good time.
Yeah, and then it's like literally, I think 3 weeks later, life shut down.
Yeah.
I'm like, hopefully nothing goes wrong.
Yeah.
The same thing's going to happen though. You look at 4 years from now. People are going to look back and they're like, 2024, if you would have bought there, that'd been the time. Like,
it's all hindsight, you know. It's a risk. It's a game. It could go down. Math says that it's not going to, but it
but
very
look
well
at
could.
Overall in the last 40 years in the Kansas City area, what's the lowest dip we've had? I think it's fluctuated like 3 to 5% at most.
Yeah, not much.
To which you look at like overall, like most people are like, well, you're like 08, like when, there's certain places like Manhattan was way outside of the scope.
Right.
But when you look at like these hard areas, like you didn't have like,
no.
Look at the long graph. Just like if you're in the stock market.
Right.
Guys that buy stocks like and play that game, it's once again, you're playing a long game.
Right.
I can sit there and look at the stocks I buy every day and I can see them go up and down. I can ride the roller coaster with it. Or I can look at my 5-year plan that I've had stuff in. I'm like, 5 years, I've made some money. But it's just watching that long term.
Right.
That in 2020, when everyone's selling out really fast, everyone's like, oh, are you going to liquidate everything? I'm like, I don't need it right now. It's the long game.
Right.
So it's like, I do think that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, for sure.
So when you guys are buying real estate, what did it look like opening up Renovating KC and saying, hey, like, is that just flip side? Or you guys do it for other people? Like, how does that all work?
So we were just flipping ourselves. I partnered with my brother and I partnered with a gentleman named Chris Dirks. He owned his own general contracting company, had for a very long time. He was about the same age of us, but he went right out of high school and just went right into the trades. Very smart guy. One of the most technical construction guys I know. So we were kind of working with him and his company, flipping our houses. And then the realtor side of me kind of saw this 2022-ish weird bubble kind of happening. And I was like, I don't know if this makes sense for us to flip like anymore. Like, let's just finish up the inventory we have. Let's get it sold and let's just sit for a few months and see what happens. Well, real estate market slowed. So in that time period, we said, let's launch Renovating KC and just focus on owner occupied, because we're predominantly based out of Johnson County, and money in Johnson County, even in 2022, even if real estate slowed slightly, the money flow didn't to Johnson County. So we were getting calls when we weren't working on people's homes like, hey, we saw your flip. Can you come do our personal house? We're like, no, we don't really do that. We just do our own properties. And finally I was like, let's do it. Let's just go for it. So my brother and I kind of merged with Chris's old company and launched Renovating KC. 2022 was our first calendar year. January 1st, we started right on the first of the year. So at the time we had the three of us and I think 3 W-2 employees, and they were just field crew. And we found it. We found our groove. We found the company that we were supposed to be in. We're all super passionate about Renovating KC now, and it just took off like wildfire. So we finished up a couple flips that we had to finance the company. We started the company at $300. We didn't take any financing. We just didn't take any debt. We were going to sell one of the houses to start the company. I was like, let's just do it $300 and see what happens. We didn't have an office. We had some tools, and we just started collecting work. And we were selling hundreds of thousands of dollars of work very quickly. And it was like we started to get backed up very, very quickly. So we go on a hiring spree. By the end of 2022, we had $0 in revenue, and we made it to $3 million by the end of the year, which in Kansas City is larger than most of the small general contracting companies that have been around for a very long time. I mean, as a small owner operator in general contracting world in Kansas City, $1 million is $1 million to $1.5 million is pretty average. A guy with a 3-man crew can generally run about $1 million, $1.5 million. So we doubled that in the first year, and we were just running around like chickens with our heads cut off. I mean, we were trying to build a company. So my title with the company is president. So I'm focused on sales, marketing, and business development. So I'm trying to figure out how we're going to sell, what we're going to sell at, how we're going to build our price book, what's our target demographic, all those types of things. My brother took over. He's a VP of operations, so he took over the operations side. So the scheduling, subcontractor management, accounting, bookkeeping, all that fun stuff. And then Chris is the construction side. So we quickly scaled up in 2022. 2023 hit. We finally leased our own building in 2023, January. End of January 2023, released our own building, 5,000 square foot facility over off 95th and Lackman in Lenexa. It's awesome. It's a game changer. So we continue to hire more people. We shifted our hiring focus from field crew to office staff. So we formally formed ourselves into the design remodel idea. So we hired designers. That's where we met Kayla. I had known Kayla Hawk and her husband for years through the real estate world. So we hired Kayla. We didn't know what to do with a designer. We're like, typically we just flip this stuff ourselves. We're like, does that look good? Yep, paint it, looks good. And Kayla brought a whole nother component to our business that we were able to say, now we can cater to a white glove service in Kansas City. Now we can come in and truly cultivate a design, and then we have the power to build it. So we doubled business in 2023. So we went from 3 to 6. We got up to about 21, 22 employees in that year, had our first office space. Still did a bunch of things wrong, but we had a really good core team that we hired. So 2024, right now we're run rating into the 8 figures for this year.
So when you look at scaling up that fast, it's something that we've ran into a lot of those walls too on just a rapid scale rate. Mm-hmm. What would you say one of your biggest, I'm going to say something I ran into that I didn't account for was the processes internally.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people are so focused externally that when I came into the marketing space, I was like, communication's wrong to clients. I was like, all these things that I saw sitting on the other side of the table was like what we were building. But I lost sight of that internal process and procedures that make the movement actually happen. So we had this machine that was just kind of busting down the road that was not moving correctly.
Right.
So have you guys ran into some of those same issues, and like what does that look like?
Definitely. So I use the analogy all the time in office of building campsites. I'm not a camper, which I don't know how I got a campsite, but I got a campsite. I have a machine analogy and a campsite analogy. So I'll use the campsite one for this sake. Building a business, building a company is all about setting up miniature campsites. As an owner and as my goal, my job, president and business ops, we all three try to stay in our lane. So I try to set up campsites. So the first campsite is sales. How do we sell? Who do we sell to? How do we get to the price that I'm going to present to the customer? Here's how much your bathroom costs to remodel. I'm going to set up that campsite. I was setting up the campsite in 1/16 the time that I should have. So campsite. Very quickly, I was going through each department of the company and spending maybe a week, literally real time, looking at that, if that, maybe a day or two, and then getting through, the 10 or the 12 campsites that make a company. And if I would have slowed down slightly, we would have better processes in that campsite. Because the goal now is I went back through all of those campsites and just burned them to the ground and started over. Because what I had originally set up was fine, but now it's like, okay, I have all this new knowledge. Let's start from scratch. This is how we're going to sell. This is how we're going to come up with our margin. This is who we're going to sell to, etc. This is how our warranty system is going to work. This is how our construction timeline is going to work. This is how the communication with the customer is going to work. This is how our construction software is going to work. So big mistakes across the board, just moving too fast. But I mean, as you know, like, I'm glad that it happened that way, because for me on the biz dev side, it's like, if we have the work, we'll figure it out. That's just my mentality. Now the guys who I like hand the work to are kind of like, what the hell are you doing? Like, we're so busy, like, stop selling. Like, we'll figure it out, guys. We'll be fine.
I feel like that's me in our space where I'm out like bidding stuff and we have clients reach out and I'm like, you guys too busy? I'm like, absolutely not. We got it handled.
Yeah,
and we come back and they're like, how are we going to do this? I'm like, we figured it out to this point, right?
I will say that's changed. Used to, it would, Damon's like, oh, dude, got an account? He's like, let's go. I'm like, bro, like, how's that going to happen? He's like, we'll figure it out. I get off the phone. I'm like, but I'm not good with, all right, I am good with numbers, but I'm like, this ain't adding up, bro.
Yeah.
But you look at it too as us in like our space, like how many of those things we've taken on out of, I'm going to say a discomfort position are some of our biggest learning curves
for sure,
and our biggest movements forward is taking on accounts that at that point I have no earthly idea. And it's like, we've went into companies and it's like, I have that forefront that we have companies that some of our most successful companies were the companies I was most nervous about in the beginning.
Yep.
That they're like, have you done this line of work? I'm like, absolutely not, but we're going to figure it out. Like we'll make it work. And it's like, and it's hard too in the early stages of a company. Right. Luckily, in like, I feel like your space, you have something where your track record builds super quickly.
It does.
And it's like, ours has a very long shelf life to have that proven record that now it's like we're at the starting line of like, hey, now people know who we are. Mm-hmm. But it's like you go out and I think product and service speaks for itself to where your guys' growth is on the product and services you're putting out.
Right.
To where it's, I don't even have to go in and understand anything about the business to know that you guys are putting good product out and good service.
Right.
But it's, I look at it as those internal processes just over and over and over is what makes that external experience better. And that's where I had I got a lot of mentors now that actually like, or a few of them that helped me a lot on business development side that there for a while. I'm like, dude, I'm the best entrepreneur there is out there. And I'm looking at like year one and I'm just burning money like crazy. And I'm like losing money every which direction.
You're supposed to lose money the first year.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's what all these like big investors say. Like
Zuckerberg.
Yeah. You're definitely losing money to get it going.
I don't know if you know Amazon, but he worked in his garage.
Yeah. But it's funny when you just watch, you get caught up in so many things online.
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, I'm doing the right thing. And then it was one day I was watching I think it was Alex Hormozy had a video out and he was like, he goes, people that think they're great entrepreneurs but they make no money, you're not an entrepreneur. I was like, oh shit, that's me.
Yeah, you just have a job.
Yeah, that's
right.
I wasn't even getting paid. I was losing money. I wasn't even getting paid.
Yeah.
I was trying to find the money. I was like, I come home to Mass. I'm like, hey, I'm going to pull a $150,000 line of credit out against our house.
Yeah.
So I fund this. And she's like, what?
It's good debt. It's fine.
I'm like,
it's not risky.
Yeah.
I'm leveraging the debt, babe.
Yeah.
Read a book.
All risk.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
But no, I mean, I think, business in general, like I said, the game part of it, the reason that companies are able to scale faster is if you can set these campsites or set this machine up or whatever analogy you want to use and then work in your lane, work in that campsite. And like at Renovating KC, that's what we do really well. So are you familiar with like Rocket Fuel and Traction, the books?
Yep, very much so.
So
who's the visionary? Who's the integrator?
Exactly. So I'm the visionary. And I gave the book, my brother had already read it. He gave it to me. And then I gave the book to Chris. And one of the big parts in there for the visionary is delegation and figuring out how to delegate. And most entrepreneurs, again, they think they know everything. They're the only ones that can do it right. And nobody else can do it as good as them. This sounds very cliche, but I really did go hire people who are better at all of these things than I am. If me and that person were to sit down and have a head-to-head match on whatever their task is, there's a high probability that they would come out ahead. And that's by design. And that's me understanding what my weaknesses are. So the guys at the office joke, like, I'm a master delegator. Master. Something comes in the door, it's off my plate and into the correct funnel within minutes. And it's just, to grow a construction company in Kansas City is challenging. And we've had our fair share of challenges. We've screwed up projects. We've lost money on projects before. I've gone to a customer and been like, I'm sorry, here's a credit. We're all in this together. Like, I'm not going to leave you high and dry and with an unfinished product, but we've made mistakes. But if you can learn as an entrepreneur and a business owner, if that's your role in the business, learning how to delegate is the battle, is the game for me. And getting the right people in the right seat and then getting them the right tasks is how you grow a business, period. And we talk to other general contractors in Kansas City. We go to these events and conference and industry events and stuff like that. Nobody's ever really asked for my advice, but I kind of just look and read the room and figure out like what's happening. I listen to some of them and they don't get out of their own way. Like, get out of your own way. And you're a 3-man operator and you're doing $1 million a year. That's fantastic. You sit there and complain about how you want to do more and more and more. Then get out of your own way and go hire somebody who can do this stuff better than you. You're not the world's best salesman. There's an estimator out there, or there's this person in construction in Kansas City right now that can do this job better than you. Go find them and hire them. And guys just don't do that. And I don't understand why.
It's actually kind of baffling in business in general. And it was funny because I'm not going to say I've been great at it by any means, but it was actually this year, January, I went to Cabo, do all of our food testing and stuff for my wedding coming up. And I read Traction again. So I read Traction probably right when I was coming out of the car business, coming like 2020 area. But it like went in 1 year out that I'm like, of course, when I'm big enough, I'm going to start a leadership team.
Right.
I'll have core values. And I'll do all these things.
Right.
Like, no question.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like,
you have to have a team to have those.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it was like, I mean, why wouldn't I do that? And I'm like laying on the beach in Cabo, and most people like go there and party and stuff the whole time. I love sitting on the beach and reading, and it's like the clearest I can get my mind space. And I'm sitting there reading Traction again, and it gets to like talking about building that leadership team, and I'm like, I actually never ended up doing that.
Yeah.
And I thought because we scaled up and then we kind of dropped off at a point, but it was literally because of that internal system that was built was not correct. So it was going back to the drawing board. And I'm sitting on the beach and I build out an MMG leadership group that I'm like, first thing to implement when we get back, we're going to build out our core values. This is how we're going to hire. This is how we're going to fire. This is how we're moving forward. But it's crazy that you read those books and how they hit at different points in your career. Right. That I'm like, I'm reading this every year on the year now, just to revisit these things, just to make sure I'm touching on everything right.
Yeah.
And I'm very much the visionary in our company, and he's very much the integrator on the way it is. But it's like I have that vision every day, and it's so clear in my head of how to get to that next spot. Right. But it's like he's the one that everyone around me keeps the thing on the tracks. Right. That's what I think a lot of times there for a while, like I love being the workhorse too, but the only person that was in MMG's way was me. Right. And it's like there's everyone that's around me is better at what they do. Like when I did all the invoicing and managed the finances, I was terrible at it. Yeah. I get done in 2022. I handed off to Dre early 23, and into 2022, I'm like, I had $60,000 not paid to us that year, and Dre gets done in 2023, and like every single person paid us. I'm like,
we made money this year.
I'm like,
we pay taxes.
Yeah, exactly. We pay taxes this year.
And I was like, Dre's a lot better at this than me. And it was just like all these different things that Ricky running a content team, I wasn't the best with communicating them all with him all the time. Yeah. And Ricky just, outshined me in that. And it's like each one of these different spots that I had all the right pieces, I just didn't know how to use them. Right. And it's like we were on a chessboard sitting in a circle in the middle. No one was even lined up to go actually play. Right. And
what piece am I? I don't know.
I don't know.
We're all pawns right now, bro. What are we doing?
Yeah. Exactly. No one knew who was who.
Right. But I think the ego side of it for most entrepreneurs just getting there. It's just, if you trust yourself enough to do X, whatever your widget is or whatever your service is, if you trust yourself well enough to do that, why don't you trust yourself well enough to go hire for that? Like most people struggle with that. Like, why don't you get really good at hiring? Yeah. Like that's great that we can renovate someone's bathroom. I can't. I could. It wouldn't be great, but I could. Like I have the basic skills of construction, but like my head of construction, part owner, he would have the bathroom done in a day, and I'd be still at Home Depot. So it's like I trusted myself to partner with him to say, dude, you can do this. I can't do this. So it's like when it comes to like hiring a bookkeeper or hiring like Alex Devine as our director of operations, and a good friend of mine I've known forever. It's like he can run circles around me when it comes to his core competency of our company, and he runs circles around everybody else. And it's like everyone's trying to keep up with him. It's like I hired that guy.
Yeah.
What's up?
Like job well done, Steven. Right? I don't need to go run the ops department. I just needed to find that guy.
Yeah.
And like if you change your mindset again, if you're a sole business owner, it's hard because you're wearing all the hats. For us, we got lucky with 3. Now we've got to split it 3 ways, which is fine. But that's also how we're able to scale. Because the other big part of it is timeline. So I'm consistently looking about 6 months in the future. Ben, my brother, who's VP of Ops, is basically like 3 months in the future. And then Chris is the right now because he's the construction. We're building stuff right now, so he's there. So like I'm already looking at Q3 of this year. Ben's in finishing up Q1 / already in the middle of Q2. And then Chris is still in Q1 just finishing things up. So we're able to just sprint in our lanes because we've been able to build the lanes and then stay in the lanes.
Have you read Patrick Bet-David's Nick's 5 Moves?
Mm-mm.
So he talks a lot about like playing in front of yourself, and there's a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs out there that think of like their price tag and where they're at right now.
Right.
But he would make these moves all the time that like when it was coming to getting software, they're like, well, that software would it would take 20 years to pay that software off. And he's like, well, if I continue my growth phase, and they're like, well, we're saying where you're at right now.
Right.
But it's like everything he pictured in his head was only if growth happened.
Right.
To where it's like, I take steps all the time that it's playing 5 moves ahead of yourself in the game.
Right.
That if you go play chess against someone, they play 1 move at a time, you will get waxed all day, every day.
Yeah.
But if you start playing someone that they talk about in the book that a grandmaster in chess plays 12 moves ahead. But he says in the real world, he goes, if you're playing 5 moves, he goes, if you're playing that far ahead, he goes, you're missing the now. So he goes, if you can play 5 moves ahead all the time, he goes, that's that perfect sweet spot of being far enough in the future, but still keeping your hand on now.
Right.
And it's just understanding those operations and understanding that when our space movement is something that it's playing ourselves 4 months in advance. Can we shove a few more people in there? Yeah, but we're going to end up in a pickle really quick, and then we're going to be sitting there shuffling our feet.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's all those moves that are happening that you have to be, like you said, 6 months in advance. So what are you doing for Q3 right now?
Right.
Because there's most of those guys that you're talking about, those small guys, they don't even know what's happening next week.
No,
they can't think of what by next Friday.
Yeah. I mean, some customers will do like they'll have, whether it's an accident or what, if they're home for an afternoon, they'll have a couple contractors come over and give out bids. And, nothing against them. They're hardworking, guys, but they'll show up fresh off a job site, and they're covered in paint and they got their chicken scratching on their notebook and, oh yeah, I can design that for you and it'll be really nice. And I'm sure they have a great product, and I'm not knocking them. But when my guy shows up with a fully executed system on why he's there, what questions he needs answered, having a full-fledged sales process of listening first and then talking to the customer about what they want, not telling the customer what they want. He's got a full 5-page SOP that we have put together, me and him, to say, this is your SOP. You have a 5-page SOP for a 45-minute consultation. So it's like, if you just follow the steps that we've built together, because again, I hired the sales guy. I used to do every single sale or every single estimate. I hired him. And then I said, you build the process and bring it back to me and we'll review it together. And then we did that 3 or 4 times. The next thing you know, he could probably go sell better than I can because he knows the number better. He understands what the ROIs are on our hardwood flooring or garage doors or whatever, and he can sell better. So it's just being able to build that process out and have that team in front of you that you can say, I'm working for you now. So you tell me what you need. And some guys just struggle with that.
You hit the nail on the head. I do think it's an ego problem that it's hard, like as an entrepreneur, when you think that you're in that position to do everything. You got to be the best at everything.
Yep.
Like, and just growing up being a competitor and being someone like you want to be great at everything, but it's being humbled back a few times to say like, actually me being a great entrepreneur is me not being the best at everything.
For sure.
And it's realistically, if you go down as just being the best hiring person, if you can be the best at finding talent, those are great entrepreneurs out there. Yep. And I look at it now as like one of my main purposes is building a culture that's unmatched.
Yeah.
Building a work environment that's unmatched. And it's like that, those are the things that I think about all the time. Yeah. And it's the product and the service and all those things. All the right people are in place to execute that day over day.
Yeah.
But it's how do I elevate the culture to a whole nother spot that we have 5 to 10 people a week reach out that want to work for us, to where it's like we've built our own funnel system, and not just for a lot of times, once again, business, when it hits scale, people look at just business acquisition.
Yeah.
And this is something you and I talked about when you're at the office. Like there's a whole nother vertical of it that most people don't even think about until it's too late. But it's like, what's the employment acquisition look like? How are you filling that pipeline? Because if you have this great product and service with 5 people, can you find 5 more people to make it to where you can still offer the same product and service?
Yeah.
Now can you find 10 more people to keep offering the same product and service? Now can you find 20 more people to where it's like the business acquisition or the employment acquisition funnel needs to be 10 times more full because you want to be more selective on that side.
Right.
So it's something that those are pieces of the game that most individuals don't even look at.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's something Kevin Hall, we had on our podcast, touched on, even internally, is don't be afraid to teach someone to do something better than you.
For sure.
He's like, always teach someone to take your job. He's like, if you teach them well enough to take your job, that means you can progress forward.
Yeah.
And when he said that, he's like, car industry, there's a lot of ego. Like, no matter how you look at it, there just is. And you sit there and he's like, the thing I got really good at is he's like, what he did was it pest?
He was in like commercial sales.
Yeah, commercial sales. And he's like, I taught people very well under me so I could progress forward up.
Yeah.
And no matter what sector you're in, internally, you can sit there and you're solving a bigger problem by helping someone take your job, because then you can progress up within the company.
Right. For sure. It's all about scale. I mean, this is probably my favorite topic right now is like, it's buzzword, culture's buzzword. Everyone's like, I got this great culture. It's like, do you know what that means?
It's all the energy drinks. Everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
It's caffeine.
exactly.
That's
It's culture. It's fine. It's like an old house has character. It's just culture. Right? But one thing that, I mean, my predominant focus right now is business development internally and externally. And for me, obviously, business development internally is employees. So we had an all-company meeting. It's been about 3 weeks now, and most of our all-company meetings are housekeeping items. This is how we're going to do this. This is our new software. Does everyone understand how to use it? This is how we're going to upload our daily logs. It's very just like scheduled and boring, quite frankly. I did one the other day where I started off with a David Goggins video, and everyone walks in and they're just like, why is David Goggins there? First off, half the company's like, who is that guy?
If you don't know who this guy is, you better start watching him.
Yeah, it was Goggins and Huberman. And it was like a 10-minute video. And the premise of it was we are extremely busy, right? Entrepreneurs, startup companies, people who get hired into director roles in those companies are very busy. Everyone's busy. Everyone can't get their stuff done in 8 hours. They'll work 10 hours or they'll push to the next day and they'll work Saturdays. Or they're just busy, right? The culture that we've created reframes that, redesigns what busy means. And so I had this whole conversation. We talked for like 90 minutes about nothing to do with the day-to-day of renovating KC. What we talked about was, what do you consider hard? What do you consider stressful? And we had a conversation about that. The team's like, this is what I consider stressful. This is what keeps me up at night, or I wish we had a better system for this. And the whole time we're just having this dialogue around this, and I'm all thinking, is it hard, or is it a problem if we're doing it every day? And everyone's like, oh, I don't really know. I guess we just assumed every day was going to be hard. Like, what if that was what if it was your baseline? What if you being stressed trying to cram 10 hours of work into 8 hours, what if that was just your baseline? What if we redefine what hard is? Alex Ramosia has a podcast interview about this as well, but this isn't my ideology by any means. But I'm just like, what if we just, in our minds, just started to recalibrate what that meant? You know, because in construction, something goes wrong every day, period. It's like we're building things, there's tools, there's a million variables.
It's not if, it's a fact.
It's a fact. Every day something will quote unquote go wrong. And we have our operations department would be half the size if things didn't go wrong. So I'm talking to the ops guys. Guys, if things went perfectly well and the subcontractors did exactly what they said they were going to do.
when they said they were going
to do it, you may or may not have a job, right? Because we wouldn't need you, because everyone would just do what they say they're going to do. But why people hire Renovating KC is because you get the white glove service of us making sure everything's going to get done. So I said, your job isn't troubleshooting. It's your job. So we just start to recalibrate what that means. And so that to me is culture. Like, how can I take somebody, and half the company, did they listen? Sure. Did they flush it as soon as they left the meeting? Sure. But I had multiple people come up to me afterwards and like, dude, this makes a lot of sense. Like, I'm stressed every single day. I just need to understand this is the new normal. This is what I'm going to do at work every day. Oh, by the way, you get paid to be here. You know, this isn't a charity. Like, I'm paying you to put you at a high level position because I think you're a high level or high caliber A player. I'm like, you do? And it's like, yeah, I do. That's why you're here. And so I've noticed a shift on some people where it's like, yeah, boss, everything's going good. Everything's fine. We have any troubles today? No troubles, but I had a bunch of stuff to do. Great. So it's like their culture now on a daily basis is just, I'm not troubleshooting anymore. It's my job. What's coming at me next and how can I fix it?
And I think on that, I see a lot of companies that don't do it is when you start investing in people in a personal side also, where doing something like that, that is how they personally operate every day.
Yeah.
And you being invested enough to say, I understand how you personally operate to make you better.
Right.
To where we have coaching calls every single Wednesday. That's every single week, and it's on all different things. It can be on, today it was on the importance of networking. Just the importance of one network connection that you can make, and just carrying 51% to every relationship that you have. And it's like, we go over organization, we go over just all these different things of needles that they can move forward in their lives, that they can become more disciplined, they can become better, that it makes it to where work doesn't seem as hard. Because there's a lot of people that are in control in their life, and there's a lot of people, life's just happening to them.
Right.
And when you become in control of your life, you demand your time, you control your time, you're in the driver's seat, you have all these disciplines that you put in place. Because there's some people that have disciplines in certain aspects of life, certain aspects they don't.
Right.
And that can be from the finance space, that can be from fitness space. We have people across all different verticals that it's like, how do we help somebody financially move from this pillar to this pillar?
Right.
Or how do we take somebody from a fitness state that, like right now we're doing a fitness challenge, which
nice.
I think Ricky's going to take us by storm on that one.
Yeah,
but
it's not a close race.
But like, it's $1,000 cash prize at the end of April, whoever
Nice.
wins the fitness challenge.
Yeah.
But it's like, we put all these different things that it doesn't all have to be about business movement.
Yeah.
Because you take somebody that you can reframe what they think hard is. It's when I take cold showers in the morning, is that fun? Absolutely not.
Right.
But that's probably one of the harder things I do in a day.
For sure.
And it's like, I've done ice baths. I love an ice bath. I don't have one, but it's like, you know how hard it is when that knob is right there and it can go from, you can just turn it and be hot.
Give it about 3 seconds and it's all over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, like you can just do that and
Yeah.
it's done.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a mental fight. It's
Yeah.
you versus you kind of deal.
Yeah.
Towards just like taking those things on, that the state that I run in business wise now is 10 times the level that I was on 2 years ago.
Yep.
And it doesn't even seem, that's just the norm.
Right.
But it's like you set those baselines as you keep progressing. But I think a lot of times people get so focused on just their business growth, and they put blinders on to what's happening to everyone around them. That it's like, be invested in everyone. And those investments, I'm going to say, putting those investments in those people are what pays dividends in the future.
For sure.
Just like investing in a house is going to pay dividends in the future. Those people are the pillars that make a company work.
Yeah. It's the only way to scale. You know, I mean, for us, like, we had this core group, and from that, we organically launched Renovating KC Service, which I'll touch on for a second. So we were getting all these customers like, hey, do you guys do HVAC work? Do you do plumbing? Do you do electrical? Anything like that? We're like, no, we sub it out, or we have guys that do our construction stuff, but we don't do ancillary services. So ironically, one of our plumbers, who was a construction plumber, had a background in some of the biggest service guys in Kansas City. He was highest selling plumber, or one of the highest selling plumbers at one of the largest plumbing company in Kansas City. He left because his words, not mine, he got uncomfortable and was not able to sleep at night with some of the pricing that they were charging. Still selling. Comes to me and he's like, dude, we get all these customers. He's like, you've got great rapport with a lot of your customers that you have. Why don't we do service? I'm like, you tell me. It's like, you put the plan together and come, let's talk about it. And so we did. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, it's like, we're launching Renovating KC Services. So out of that, we grew to HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. And so now we offer both sides of homeowner maintenance and improvement. So we can remodel your bathroom, and then everybody who does a remodel with us automatically gets enrolled in our maintenance program. So this is how much we stand by our work. We're going to come remodel your bathroom, and then I'm going to send my plumber out there every year to check it for as long as you want to be a part of the program. At the first year or second year is free, and then after that, it's like $150, $200 a year. That's how much I believe we're going to put a quality product in your house. Is I'm going to send these guys back out every year to double check it. Your warranty only lasts so long, and I get it, things break, but I'm going to continue my relationship with you after we're done with this project. And if you've built the house or been in a large scale remodel, by the end of it, some of those relationships are very frayed. And we've unfortunately had some of those too, where it's like, we both just, let's go our separate ways. Here's a credit or whatever. This isn't working out. The majority of our customers, we in on really good terms, where it's like, well, we'll see you in 3 months for a spring tune-up for your air conditioner. Thank you, thank you very much. We'll see you in a couple months. So The service company is a totally different animal, and it's a lot of fun. It's a whole different game. I thought it was more aligned with design and remodel, but it is not. It is a whole different monopoly board, and it's been really fun trying to crack that code. So I spend the majority of my day now on business development, culture, etc., on the design remodel side, and then I'm not bothering the other two owners and leaving them on the construction side, and I'm kind of running the service side all by myself organically. And so we've not eclipsed a year yet, but we're keeping the guys busy. Our sales are through the roof. We can always do more, but it's incredible how fast that company is scaling up as well. So now we're going to scale both of these at the same time.
Yeah. So when are you going to start taking care of the exterior of the house?
We do some exterior stuff. Yeah, we do exterior stuff.
You're going to start doing the lawn, landscape?
No. We're not going to.
Yeah. At your whole property, we take care of that whole plot.
You know, it's funny. We joke because me and my brother are always just like, what do you want to do next? Like roofs or gutters or pest control or garage doors or whatever. I'm like, oh, we got enough right now. Like, let's master design remodel and let's get our service company.
If you created something where I could just pay one person that covered the whole house, get the cleaning company, get the yard company, get the whole
like a
nine.
Concierge service is what it turns into.
just one thing, and then that'd be nice.
That actually would be very nice.
It would be. What we've built like with the customers is we've not built out all the processes for all those different verticals, but we tell our customers, call us first. Because the unfortunate part in the trades in Kansas City and just like all across the United States, there's a ton of people out there that are just ripping people off. There's no way around it. And so our shtick is call us first. If it's something that we can do in-house, if it is HVAC and you need a new furnace or air conditioner, great. We'll come do that. We'll give you good, better, best options. We'll take really good care of you. If you need a garage door, we don't do garage doors. But guess what? I got 3 subs and vendors that I know and have worked with for years that I can send you that I know will not rip you off. So now it's like, call me first. Either call your realtor first or call me first is who it turns into. And we'll get you to the right direction. So it's kind of I haven't figured out a way to compensate myself for it yet, but I am that concierge service where I'm just shelling out business to other verticals.
But I think that also speaks volumes that we were talking today on the network forefront is building a huge network. People that build the biggest networks focus on what they can do for others all the time.
For sure.
That if you are focused on what you can do for others and if you need that next job on the renovating side and you have this job over here and then I needed something on my garage door and I called you and you're like, oh, I have this guy, he comes out, it was a great experience.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, dude, Steven's the dude that you go with.
For sure.
And it compounds so quickly.
Yeah. And
I think that's what a lot of times a lot of business owners particularly will say like, okay, that was a bad relationship. Like, we're on this thing. That was a bad relationship. Yeah. This one was kind of okay, but like, I'm not going above and beyond to help them out. Right. I got my money.
Right.
Like, on to the next deal. Like, it's after the sale. Like,
that's when the sale starts.
That's that's good. That's good.
The sale always starts after
the sale. For sure.
And that was what we were taught in the car business, that when our dad instilled in us, like, after the car deal, he goes, you call in the next day.
Yeah.
He goes, you call them 7 days after. He goes, you send them a thank you card. Yeah. He goes, you write their birthday down. You send them a birthday card every year. Yeah. He goes, you send them a Christmas card.
Right.
He goes, you call them, like, we had this like timeline of when we were supposed to talk to these people.
Yeah.
He goes, if there's ever a problem, you handle it.
Yeah.
Because you're the first one to know about it.
Right.
But it just built a whole different network of people, which we built a huge portfolio and selling cars, but it was in a different way that people were referred to us all the time because of the way we did business. It's the same way that you look at it as like, if you call me I still help people buy cars all the time.
Right.
I don't get paid for it. I don't need to get paid for it.
Right.
But it's like, I look at it as like, if you help me do my garage door, like, don't search for it on that. Like, the big picture of it, like, there's a reason your company's growing the pace it is.
Right. I mean, to toot not my horn, but the team's horn is outside of a couple $1,000s of some very basic websites, some very like hats and shirts and stuff, we've essentially spent $0 on marketing. Essentially zero.
Hey, I don't like to hear that.
Now, I'll tell you why that's good and bad. It's great, but I'm the forecaster, right? So I'm looking in the future. That's what sparked our conversation because I'm looking at the Q3, Q4. Like, if we're going to keep scaling, it's inevitable. But to get to the size that we're at right now, we on lead gen for design remodel, we've spent $0. And it's because we have had hard conversations with customers. We've lost money on jobs. We've walked out the door. did a whole $300,000 job for free, zero profit. Because at the end of the job, we screwed something up, we made it right, and we left with a happy customer. And that customer has referred us to like 4 or 5 other, like almost $1 million worth of work. Great. So the sale does start after the sale. I mean, after you're done, that's a great way to put it. Because that's how you get the referral network is unbelievable.
Well, a referral customer is probably the best customer you can have.
For sure.
It because one, it's a friend vouching for a friend.
You don't have to sell anymore.
Yeah,
right.
They come in, it's a deal. At that point, you're just finalizing numbers.
We've made customers go get second bids before just because we've got such a good referral source. And they're like, Steven or Danny, my sales guy, this is great. We want to go with you guys. Hey, just for you, go get another bid. Why? Like, I like what you just go get it. I don't want you to ever think in a million years that we did some sketchy something here or we're overpricing or whatever. Just go get it. They go get it. It comes back 25% higher than us. Hey, Steven, this works out even better. We want to go with you. Great. So it's like, we're not afraid of those things. And some contractors play that smoke and mirrors game of they don't want that to happen. Or
here's our hidden fees.
Exactly. This markup is this huge, weird game. We're like, here's our markup. Like, our markup is our money. Like, that's how we pay our employees. So some people are like, I'll go buy the toilet myself instead of paying you a markup on the toilet. It's like, okay, well then I can't warranty the toilet because I didn't make any money on the toilet.
But it's also like, I look at it as we're very cut and dry. We're a business. Mm-hmm. We're a profitable business. We're out to make money.
Right.
But it's also like, we put a lot of A players in a room. You get what you pay for. Mm-hmm. To where if you want to come work with the best, you're going to pay to be with the best.
Right.
To where I'm very upfront with business owners. If I want you to make money, if you came in and you bid out doing a bathroom for me, I'm not going to. Out of all the clients we run with, we have 100 plus companies that we work with. Out of all those companies, I have never negotiated once with any of them. And I've done so much work with them. I want them to make money.
Yeah.
I'm the first one when I go to a business owner, I expect them to make money. I don't want them to give me some crazy deal.
Right. It's a weird concept.
But it is. Like, it's something that I want people to win. And too many people in today's world, like, I dealt with in the car space all the time. Right. And I would have people come in, they're like, I spent $50,000 with you. I'm like, you think we got that $50,000 truck you bought for free?
Right.
You think that there's like a magic delivery truck that goes around, we just drop these off and just get them?
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you think?
I just like, want to know the people that go into Walmart. I'm like, have you ever negotiated in Walmart? Be like, you know what? My groceries are $200. I'll give you $150.
Right.
Do you see a spot on Amazon to put in your own price?
Yeah. It's not eBay.
I don't think I see it on there.
It's a great example because I've had friends utilize our service. They'll call in. We'll go do a plumbing repair or whatever. And our plumber won't know that that's necessarily my friend. They'll just go out and do the work and they'll send them the estimate and they'll pay the estimate. And then I'll see it come through, that night or the next day. I'm like, oh shoot, like I should have at least called them and been like, hey, make sure you take care of them, give them, maybe give them $50 off or whatever. And I'll call my friend, be like, hey, sorry, like we can, why?
Yeah.
And they're like, dude, I want to pay you full price. Like, you're my friend. Like, your friend should be paying your full price service. This isn't a friends and family discount. That's the thing of the past. It's like, if you're going to support our business, then pay the full price. Now, expect the quality service. And if we don't get that, then you let me know.
It's paying full price all directions. Like, I look at it as just smaller business owners, they're the first ones that want to go try to undercut. If we sit in a conversation and somebody tries to negotiate with us, I literally, at that point, I tell them I don't think we're a good fit, and I end the conversation.
Yeah.
I have not had a single negotiation since we've started our company.
We had an individual we've worked with in the past, and they called us 2 weeks ago. They're like, hey, we need to get some stuff up for this. Like, stuff just happened. Like, how fast can we have it up?
Yeah.
I'm like, within 2 days.
Yeah.
He's like, what's it cost? Tell him. Like, I was halfway through saying numbers. He's like, get it up. Let's roll. Yeah. He's like, thank you.
Done.
But it's like, these are people that we know.
That's because of the relationship you have with them.
100%.
The service you provided them.
And they know that it's prompt. They know that it's right. They understand that.
Right.
But it's same thing. If I use them, I'd pay full price.
Right.
And it's just, I think that goes both directions. That if you want somebody to win, why would I go try to take their money?
Right.
Why would I go try to knock their profit? So I'm supposed to make profit and you're not? Right. Like, how's that fair?
It's an industry thing too. I mean, you guys get it being in the car space. Everything's a deal. I'm gonna Joe Blow. I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna wheel and deal with this guy. Contracting and general contracting and remodel, it's the same. And the unfortunate part is it's a race to the bottom for some of these guys. And they're doing jobs for free all day long because I just need to work to keep my guys busy. I need to work. I'm struggling paycheck to paycheck. Luckily, Kansas City, the design remodel space in Kansas City, the major players in the space are awesome. There's some, like, we have referred business to other companies because either we're too busy or it's like, hey, I think they do a great job. There might be a better fit for you based off what they do. But finally, in Kansas City, in the design build, design remodel space, people are charging for estimates. People are charging for their design. We're able to compensate our time. I mean, it could take 100 man hours to get you a design and an estimate. Just a design, fully baked, curated to the T, and an estimated construction contract to go with that could be 100 hours of work. And there's guys in Kansas City that do that for free. How do you make any money doing this?
I mean, we used to do full marketing strategies for companies for free before we bid out accounts.
Yeah.
And it's like, people are like, well, that doesn't take very long. I'm like, I put the 5 to 7 strongest minds in our company in a room for 3 hours to build out marketing strategies each time, down to every single aspect of your account.
Right.
And I was like giving these to people, and I had a company in Kansas City that guys like, we're moving forward with you, everything. He's like, let's get the marketing strategy put together. I get it all put together. I go there, I present it. We go over a whole hour and everything. He's like, all right, we'll get rolling with it. He calls another marketing company that's half the price of us that has had this account for a year, has absolutely shit down their leg. And he's probably listening to this. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. But it's like, they're not us.
Right.
I can tell, I give them a blueprint on how to do it, and they still can't do it. Yeah. But it's like, now we do not touch an account. Like, people meet with us. They're like, well, can you put together all your ideas and do all that, send it over, and we'll see if we're interested. Right. I go, there's not a single man hour put on this account until we're paid.
Right. We get paid. We set content, stuff gets started build out, and then we structure it accordingly so it's fair for all parties. But time is money.
It is.
And no matter how you look at it, it is.
It is.
And once the payment comes through, we know you're actually invested in us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So then we can become invested in you as well.
Exactly.
But I definitely think we could talk for hours.
We could.
And you're definitely hitting on all the same wavelengths that we do on the.
You trying to join the team or what?
Yeah, no, I'm in.
Yeah, this is actually a big
I'm a good delegator, so I got time.
I was thinking if you can sell phone book ads,
you can easily
sell social media marketing.
For sure.
So this is just a big interview here.
Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah. I don't think you'd like my offer.
We're 100% commission.
Perfect. Even better. Even better.
You make your own pay plan. So
exactly. Sky's the limit. Yeah. That's awesome.
We've all heard that one before.
Yeah.
But
uncapped commissions.
Yeah. Towards the end of the podcast, I mean, you definitely have all the right things moving business wise, and I can definitely tell you have a lot of sharp people around you too.
For sure.
And I'm a huge delegator, and I think that is a trait that people have to have, and I think that's working smarter, not harder all the time, and leaning into other people's strengths. If you could go back, at the end of the podcast, I always ask, if you go back to your 21-year-old self and give yourself one word of advice, what would it be?
Phone books.
Phone books.
Yellow pages.
The way of the future.
I mean, for me, for the season of life that I'm in right now, and the answer to that question is get riskier faster. Like, be willing, like when you get out of college, when you're 21, 22, 23, like I lived at home for a minute, like I should have been taking all of the risk. A part of me is like thankful that I went and got that corporate job, but a part of me is like, I wish I would have just figured out how to just launch a company then. Because the season of life that I'm in now, like I set my own schedule. My wife knows I come home between 3:30 and 4 every day. So I've family or people at church, and they're like, they know what we do, and they're like, man, are you just working like 90 hours a week? And I'm like, no. I take my kid to school at 8, I'm home by 3:30, almost every day. So for me, the season of life I'm in, I have an almost 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old girl, all girls. And
congratulations.
Thank you. I'm in big trouble. They're the greatest. I love the season of life that I'm in. I wish that our businesses were just a few more years advanced, because it would just mean more fun for my family. And the companies that we have, especially the core Renovating KC company, most of the team is younger, and most of us have younger kids. And that's the advice I'm giving them is, guys, let's figure this out faster. So like when our kids are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, we can pour into them more, because I could certainly work more hours and make this company go faster, but I'm pouring into the machine at home. So I have to be home with my kids. Like I'll start crying right now over my kids. Like I love those girls. I would do anything for them. So for me right now, it's like, I'm glad I got to the position that I'm in so I could spend that time. I wish I was a little bit more ahead. So to answer a really long-winded question, be okay with risk. Just start something. If you're looking at starting something, or you want to start your own business, or you just want to take a leap of faith in like your own company that you're in right now and just pour gasoline all over it, now's the time to figure it out, because everyone's going to sit back 5 years from now and wish I would have started this earlier. Everybody says that. So just do it.
And I think you hit a key point on there too, that there's a lot of people that are entrepreneurs in a lot of companies, and there's opportunities to pour gas on a lot of different things and elevate a lot of different movement, and figure out something that can correlate to you within those companies and run with it.
Yeah.
And I had that runway for a while in the dealership space. When I lost that runway, it was when I exited. Mm-hmm. So it's like, keep that runway and keep it to where you're moving the needle, and I think the right people will make it
for sure
pay off. But I very much appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been great. It's been really cool.
We'll definitely have to have an episode too. Like I said,
same time tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll just keep coming back.
Run it back.
But Ricky, Dre, any final thoughts down there?
No, appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
You bet. Absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of great insight.
Yeah, if you guys ever get stuck in a phone book pickle,
I know a guy.
Now I know a guy.
So you said if it's over $4 a page, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Okay.
If it's $3.97, it's questionable. But $4 is that hard.
Yeah, hard stop on the phone book ads.
Exactly.
But thank you very much.
Cool.
And that is the M3 podcast.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.